It won't actually release the answers that it gives onto the official transcript on its website. When you visit the hospital where Liu Xiaobo is being treated in northern China, there are no outward signs that there is a world-famous activist being treated in the hospital.
And searches for Liu's name coming up empty online. Experts say the activist and the political ideals he stands for are marginalized in today's China, especially since Xi Jinping came to power in 2013. His work virtually unknown in his own country. Liu is still a hero for many liberals in China, and though most aren't able to openly voice their support for him, they say in the age of the internet, the government's attempt to erase his legacy from the mainland will fail. Looking ahead, what's less clear is the fate of his wife.
Ever since Liu Xiaobo won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2010, his wife Liu Xia has been under effective house arrest. She suffers from depression, she has problems with alcoholism, she takes medication. Friends suggest that Liu Xiaobo is really most interested in getting her and her younger brother, who has also been prosecuted, away from China and to freedom.
Okay, to other news now, and it's maybe a whole lot easier to say sorry from today. Hong Kong has just become the first jurisdiction in Asia to introduce an apology law. The bill passed its third reading in LegCo with 46 votes for and 2 against. The law separates apologies from legal liability. That is, saying sorry won't be seen as a tacit admission of guilt. Justice Secretary Rumsky-Yun said the aim is to encourage people to resolve their disputes outside the courts. He also refuted lawmakers' doubts on whether the law was written to give the government an excuse to evade its legal responsibilities.
The bill only clears the legal obstacles which often inhibit people from making apology even when they wish to do so, not because the government wants to protect itself. Under the bill, the government stands in the same position as any ordinary institution or individual. This is a reflection of the government's acceptance of the rule of law and the important notion that everyone is equal before the law.
Well, pedestrians may find themselves apologising a lot more to traffic authorities. That's after police kicked off a 7-day crackdown on jaywalking today aimed at reducing traffic accidents. The campaign targets pedestrians who don't follow traffic lights and regulations. Verbal warnings might be given to minor or first offenders, but you probably don't want to test it. You could end up in court with a fine of up to $2,000. Over the next week, more police officers will be stationed at major crossings and intersections. Now, lawmakers failed to conclude their debate on the stamp duty amendment bill before its summer recess. Under the bill, the stamp duty on property transactions for second home buyers will be raised to 15%. Homeowners who want to buy a new flat will be exempt from it only if they finish the transaction within 6 months. The measure was rolled out by the government to cool the red-hot housing market. It was widely supported by lawmakers today, but it was held up at LegCo. The amendments proposed by legislators aren't sorted out yet.
The debate will continue in October. I don't want to speculate whether the bill will pass. We'll keep informing and lobbying lawmakers. I will only make comments after the voting result is out.
To the US next, and the latest on Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian lawyer during the 2016 election campaign. In an interview, the president said he was unaware the meeting ever took place until a couple of days ago. The comments come just a day after Trump Jr. released emails showing how eager he was to speak with Natalia Veselnitskaya after she hinted she had damaging information on Hillary Clinton. It's the most concrete evidence yet suggesting Trump campaign officials were willing to accept Russian help to win the election. But the president wrote off the controversy, saying he thought many people would have had that meeting. Meantime, in another interview, he took a dig at Clinton, saying Putin would have been much happier with her as president.
If Hillary had won, our military would be decimated. Our energy would be much more expensive. That's what Putin doesn't like about me. And that's why I say, why would he want me? Because from day one, I wanted a strong military. He doesn't want to see that. And from day one, I want fracking and everything else to get energy prices low and to create tremendous energy. We're going to be self-supporting. We just about are now. We're going to be exporting energy. He doesn't want that. He would like Hillary, where she wants to have windmills. Okay?
Meanwhile, Christopher Wray, the U.S. president's pick to head the FBI, pledged to lead the agency with independence during his Senate confirmation hearing. Wray's nomination is overshadowed by concerns of Donald Trump's sacking of the last FBI director, James Comey, as well as the ongoing Russia-Trump campaign probes. When grilled by senators on handling White House politics, the former Justice Department lawyer vowed he would quit if told by the president to do something unlawful.
I think that you told me yesterday there's been no question by anybody in the White House asking you for a pledge of loyalty. Is that correct?
That's correct, Senator. My loyalty is to the Constitution, to the rule of law, and to the mission of the FBI. And no one asked me for any kind of loyalty oath at any point during this process, and I sure as heck didn't offer one.
Now, in a move to curb the growing threat of North Korea, U.S. senators have rolled out new bipartisan sanctions to stop banks and companies from doing business with the reclusive state. This follows Pyongyang's latest missile test, which it claims can reach American soil. The new bill targets certain institutions and bars them from accessing the U.S. financial system.
Specifically, the financial institutions that clear the transactions that allow, especially Chinese, but perhaps other businesses, to do the business with North Korea that keeps that regime afloat. Our goal is to raise the cost of pursuing this nuclear capability, raise the cost to a point that's so high that the regime in North Korea will decide it is no longer worth pursuing this.
Well, the finger pointing at China in the new U.S. sanctions certainly isn't going down well in the country, but as Sam Vardas reports, Beijing says doing trade with North Korea does not violate United Nations resolutions.
As U.S. pressure mounts on China over North Korea, Beijing said on Thursday that trade with Pyongyang is on the up, jumping more than 10% in the first half of the year from 2016. It comes just a week after Donald Trump slammed China on Twitter, pointing at a much larger 40% rise earlier this year. He seemed to want to highlight its failure to counter the threat from the north, but as Reuters' Ben Blanchard explains, Beijing says it's doing exactly what it's supposed to.
China has said repeatedly that it fully and conscientiously does enforce UN resolutions against North Korea. However, it also points out quite rightly that the United Nations sanctions against North Korea do not ban all trade with the country. China says these sanctions should not be affecting the ordinary lives of everyday North Koreans, that should not have any impact upon humanitarian situation in the country.
While China's imports from the north were down, exports jumped, driven largely by textile goods that China says aren't included in the UN's bans. Beijing has been on a rhetorical drive this week, pushing back against the US and what China sees as constant harping on about not doing more to rein in the north.
China has resurrected a term that it started using, I think it was last year, called the China responsibility theory, saying that this is completely ridiculous, that the key to resolving this problem does not lie in China's hands. China will do all it can and is doing all it can, but at the end of the day, this is a problem for Pyongyang and for Washington to sort out.
While China has been angered by North Korea's repeated missile tests, it also points the finger at the US and South Korea for making matters worse with their military exercises and not getting talks back on track.
OK, up next, the latest from the world of business. We start with a look at local market action. Another great day for the HSI. The benchmark hitting a fresh two-year high, up over 1%. Consumer cyclicals and energy stocks were the main gainers, but we did see all sectors gaining across the board following the broader positive market sentiment today. China Shenhua Energy was one of the stocks topping the leaderboard, with shares rising over 3%. Well, the gains today come on the back of some upbeat data out of the mainland. June trade figures released beat expectations. Exports rose 11.3% from a year earlier, while imports expanded 17.2%. The data suggests the economy is holding up well thanks to firmer global demand. But economists aren't quite as optimistic about the outlook. The cooling property market and a crackdown on risky lending are expected to translate to slower growth. By contrast, Fed Chair Janet Yellen says the U.S. economy is in good enough shape for a rate hike, adding that the central bank can begin winding down its massive bond portfolio. But she warned low inflation and a low neutral rate may leave the central bank with little leeway to raise interest levels much further. A low neutral rate, which neither encourages nor discourages economic activity, means the Fed may have to slow the pace of rate hikes down the road.
The FOMC in its principles for normalization of monetary policy has clearly indicated that it intends to return over time to a primarily Treasury-only portfolio.
Locally, the Communications Authority finally approved media company HKTV's application for a mobile TV license 4 years after it first bought spectrum for mobile television services from China Mobile. The broadcaster can now transmit its programs in a digital format, which can be played out on mobile devices and TV screens at home with special receivers. Former Chief Executive C.Y. Leung and its ExCo members rejected HKTV's application for a free-to-air TV license in 2013. It was a decision that sparked public outcry. Virtual reality gaming is already big business in Japan, but entertainment company Bandai Namco is banking on its growing popularity and is going one step further in the industry by launching a flagship VR arcade featuring all the latest thrills and spills. Kira Lee reports.
3,500 square meters of gaming. This is Japan's largest virtual reality facility. Game software company Bandai Namco is behind the virtual reality zone in the heart of Tokyo's shopping district. It boasts 15 types of game, including Mario Kart, fishing and cycling through the sky on a winged bicycle.
The message is, lose yourself. We made this facility because we wanted everyone to just lose themselves. You get to interact with friends in reality, not over the internet. You get to ask your friends, hey, you fell over a cliff just now. Are you okay?
Particularly scream-inducing is the Haunted Hospital game, where players have to navigate through bloody hallways while being attacked by zombies.
The scariest thing was seeing people coming towards me trying to attack me. I kept saying, "Who are you?" I had no idea what was going on and honestly panicking from start to finish.
The virtual hub will be open for an undisclosed period from the 15th of July and is expected to prove popular. Video gaming is big business in Japan, estimated to be worth over $12 billion. With over 2 billion gamers around the world, the global games market is expected to generate over 100 billion in revenues this year.
Property developers in Singapore are eyeing a sector turnaround following a losing streak that lasted more than 3 years. Experts say the market could be bottoming out, at least in the high-end space. Developer Guoco Land is certainly testing demand. It's asking $72 million for its Walik residence penthouse in the Tanjong Pagar district, where you can see just here. The 3-story unit comes with a private pool and is tipped to become the island's most expensive apartment, but you still might consider it a bargain. Prices in Hong Kong have tripled in the past decade, while Singapore prices rose just 29%. All right, time for a break, but when we come back, could Formula One racing hit London streets?
It's the road that leads to fantasy. Do you dare to walk down? Take a deep breath. Think out of the box. Go to heaven or fall into hell. Be an angel or be a Satan. Or just live as an ordinary.